Hi, thanks for watching AquariumTech. Today I was going to revisit the undergravel video. Sure some of you are going to love me for this. Basically, when I made that video, I really didn't even really prepare for it. I just kind of put it out there just because. And, I really assumed that most of the stuff I said was common knowledge. I pretty much assumed people knew it was a crappy filter, it's pretty much useless to today's standards, but, so I'll go a little more in depth with that today. If you want to actually know how it works, about what the bubbles, using an air pump or using a power head, exactly how it works, you might want to go watch that other video. I explain kind of how it flows through the filter. Today, obviously, I got a lot of bad comments and stuff like that, and really none of them actually gave a reason, it's just the whole, oh, you suck, and, blah, 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 and here, I probably have one right here. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'll read this one to you. The whole point of having an undergravel filter isn't isn't fucking bacteria growth. I'm sorry? Of course it is. Anyways, let's continue. And it's not to be used as the only filter. Of course it is. When it came out, yes, it was good compared to, I think they use like weird glass and fiber filters or something. I'm not sure, I really don't know much about it before I got into it. But anyways, let's continue. Let alone if you want to talk about pointless, having live plants in aquarium is pointless. Having live plants in aquarium is pointless? What? Dude, okay, you need to just stop. If you actually have an aquarium, okay, just put it away. Have you not seen the best tanks have plants in them? I don't have enough space on the comments to even talk about this, but it carries bacteria and fucking snail eggs. I don't know. The undergravel filter also serves as a supply of oxygen to the tank, making the water more circulated. Now, any filter does that. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about with an air supply, but of course a sponge filter would do that, and of course do it even better. And you wouldn't have all the stigmas that come with having an undergravel filter. I'd rather have an undergravel filter over live plants any day. Okay. I still don't. And to be honest with you guys, that was probably one of the more reasonable ones. That's probably one of the most reasonable negative ones I've had. And as you can see, that made absolutely no sense. Just to say the least, alright? I don't want to be rude and bashing on stuff right here, but just so you understand, I kind of have to point that out there. I have got good comments too, and in fact, some of them are very relevant and stuff that, I wouldn't have thought about, and I'll put them in the video because, I do give credit where credit is due. So when I talk about it, I'll go ahead and, read those and who left. This one I'll leave alone. You can find it if you want. But anyways, so that's pretty much how that went. Now I'll go ahead and get to some of the more, advanced things about, or I wouldn't say advanced, but more detailed about undergravel filters. Now, to be honest, you can't really say, oh, it's the best or it's the worst, because they highly vary. Highly varies what type of gravel you use and how much of it. So, how much bacteria it can carry is highly variant. But why I will always say it's the worst isn't just because of how much media space it has. It's just how it works. If you look, okay. Think about it like this. A filter without media is pretty much just a power head, if we're talking about power filters here, okay? This has no power, and it has no media. Where does that leave it? It's nothing, alright? It's not really even a filter. It's just using your gravel. Your gravel does all of this stuff anyways. For most people that don't know, what do you think happens to the majority of small fish poops and stuff? Sure, some of it does get sucked up because, they poop that same day that you do your water changes, but even if you don't have an under gravel filter, there will be bacteria in there. And in fact, you might, depending on what type of gravel you have, there's going to be a chance that there's more anaerobic bacteria. And for those of you that don't know, anaerobic bacteria is the stuff that eats nitrates. And in freshwater tanks, it's very, very hard to grow and very rare. So it's definitely nice to have some of that stuff. And you definitely won't have it with an under gravel filter because it will be cycling more water / oxygen or / air through your gravel. Alright? So you might have some more, a little bit more, you know, aerobic bacteria, which is like your main bacteria. You know, ammonia nitrate nitrifying. But that's why you just get a power filter. The power filters these days are the same price for the most part. I mean, there's no reason not to, alright? Not to mention the power filters are even easier to take care of. And this is also what I was saying, why they're the worst filter. Because under gravels, over time, they build up crud that won't get dissolved, or just a buildup of it that it can't keep up with. To clean the filter, you have to completely remove the filter, which is under the gravel, which is very dangerous thing happening for the fish. It's going to bring up all this crap, a lot of probably some unnitrified toxins and stuff, very bad. You know, and like I said, at this point, there's really no reason to have one against all this. Now, you know, I'm not saying you can't keep fish with it because it does work, but it's, you know, I mean, it's to today's standards, it's useless for the most part. You know, you could just use a sponge filter, and it's way better. And on top of that, remember, gravel isn't made to be media. Although some gravel might make some decent media, you know, other filters were actually made to be filters. So the media, even if it doesn't look like it has as much media, it's definitely more, it'll be more dense with biological filtration because that's what it was made for, like a sponge filter, alright? Now, I know it does vary with sponge filters. You can get porous ones or dense ones, and, you know, and that's going to, you know, vary what exactly the density of the bacteria growing there as well. So, you know, those are just some things to think about, you know, if you ever, you know, talking about specifics here, because a lot of people try to, well, I wouldn't say a lot, but like, there's like one person that probably left a comment or PM me about that. When you're talking about capacity, you can't just say this is the best, or, you know, it's not the best or the worst, because it's, you know, it varies way too much. So, but like I said, generally speaking, those are the problems. Plus, like was mentioned in that other comment, you can't really, you know, even he straight up said it, you can't really have plants. And any good Aquarius knows that plants are freaking awesome. All right, those are what make really good tanks. And even if you're not using them for, you know, nitrate eating purposes, which I don't, they just look good. And you know, it's easy to tell the difference between live plants and, you know, fake plants if you ever want to, you know, get into that argument. And now, just to mention, you know, just to make sure I'm thorough on this, that's one thing about my videos. I like to be thorough, which is sometimes why they're longer than some of the other videos. Anyways, you know, there is under gravels out there that, you know, might have sponge mods or even carbon cartridges in them and stuff. But even then, you still have all the same stigmas and problems attached to, you know, an under gravel. You know, I really even shouldn't call it a filter. I should call it under gravel. Just excuse me. But anyways, you know, when you could just go out and have a power filter that, you know, like let's say you put a carbon cartridge in there that would have way more carbon, and it would be way easier to change. It'd be much more effective. You know, the power filters can, you know, easily have more flow than the under gravels. Not to mention, you know, they're not as big or as bulky. You know, they don't take as much space. They don't limit you on anything. And most of it's out of the tank, so it's a lot easier to clean. You know, there's really just no reason to have one. I mean, almost no matter what setup you have. In fact, no matter what setup you have, there's really no reason for one. there's no situation that I can really think of where I would say I'd rather have an under gravel versus a canister or hang on back, or even just another power internal filter. There's just I can't really think of any. They're gonna have the same, like I said, they're made to be filters. They're gonna have more flow, which is a good and a bad thing depending on what fish you're keeping, but especially if you're only using one filter for a tank, which I don't suggest. I always suggest you have multiple filters. Having more flow is going to definitely be a good thing. The media is definitely going to be smaller. It's not going to limit you on stuff. And you're going to be able to be more flexible with your media too. And remember, media is the soul of the filter, okay? Media is basically what makes a filter, all right? And with that being said, like I said, this is the supposed filter, and I do not see any media here, okay? And even then, like I said, gravel is not made to be media. Even though, yes, it does work, but it's not made for it. Which is why even with all this big bed of gravel, it's still maybe only equal to, a sponge filter like this, or a hang-on back, or a canister, or not even up to a canister filter. So, I really don't see any any real arguments coming my way other than the fact that, oh, I have one and I think it's the best kind of thing coming at me. And even if you did want to have a discussion, I have been reasonable, I'd be reasonable about it, but I really don't see any real reasonable reason to have one. They just don't have the same amount of performance as a hang-on back, but have all these bad things attached, bad circumstances that are going to eventually come or be attached to them. So, anyways, in fact, here I have some relevant comments that I think we're at, I was going to mention them if I haven't already. Like this one. This is before, I think I touched on this. Mike, just keep doing what you're doing. You are doing a great job. Keep it up, blah, 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 blah. I find ignorance comical. Agreed. In the 17 years I have been in this hobby, some people still overlook the obvious, which is what I'm trying to point out. Check it out. If you like UGF, then let's put you to a live tank with one. Water changes and gravel cleanings included, and I bet not only will it stink, but the parameters will be atrocious. Yes. Just my thoughts. Well, that's actually just truth. But actually, that's not the one I meant to read. Here we go. I lived most of my life with aquariums. And by the way, that last one was Mr. Caravacan 21. This one's Desert Bard. I lived most of my life with aquariums. I remember with pride the first time I got myself an under gravel filter. I was in hog heaven. No more changing spun glass every week. I even put egg crate on top of my UGF so there would be no dead spots under ornaments. That was a little trick back in the day. There was other little tricks you could do to raise the effectiveness of your under gravel filter. I maintained tanks for a year with no problems, but I'd take the tank apart to get all the crud out from under the filter, and boy did it ever build up. Yes, that's a huge problem, which I mentioned. It is not what I want my fish to have to deal with. Very well spoken. So as you can see, this person, has used them, and he knew that for the technology of the time, they were good, but has since realized they're like I said, they're useless to today's standards, and it's bad for your fish. He has realized this, which, that's what I'm trying to say. All right, and there's no reason for me to hate on a product. I'm not getting paid to diss on under gravel filters. I don't have a personal beef with any kind of equipment. All right, there's no reason for me to lie to you either. I mean, I created this channel to help people. Why it doesn't make any sense that I would lie about something like this and even make a second video like this. Anyways, I think I got my point across without, I'm trying not to take up too much time, but, anyways, another thing, if you notice those comments, they made a hell of a lot more sense than the other one, and I promise you that's one of the better ones. So, oh, by the way, just since I have it in my face, this one's by Bibbo1234Izzy. In Germany, you cannot buy such a filter. Why? Because he sucks. I think that's funny. So, anyways, that's about it for this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and send me a PM. Thanks for tuning in.